Hello everyone, and welcome back to An Art Worth Living. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit spooky because it's spooky season. Anyways, we're going to be talking about one of my characters that I designed. He is called Headless Jack. Now I painted this and unfortunately my footage was acting up on my cell phone, but I drew this and I like that I have this glowing theme going on, and here in my image I actually have it glowing as well. But I have a spooky scary for him that I came up with, and I thought it would be really nice to do a video on it for you guys. Okay, so let's get started. Now it all started off with Jack the farm boy. He was such a bubbly kid, about the age of 12. He'd constantly go over to this neighbor, a farmer. Now, this town wasn't your typical town. This town lived and breathed off the crops that the farmer made. There was only one road, one small highway that stretched so far and wide that it would disappear into the horizon before you'd reach civilization. The neighbor came up with a very special scarecrow, as he called it the crow food scarecrow. He had taken scrap meat and had Jack sew sacks around that meat. The hopes was that if the scarecrows had their own food, maybe they wouldn't touch ours. And it was a success. Leading up to Halloween, the scarecrows stopped eating the crops, which was quite significant for the town, as the crops ate about 40% of their food every year. No longer were families hungry, and things were looking up. But as Halloween grew closer and more scarecrows went up, more and more children and people kept going missing. In a combat to fight this, they actually created a curfew. Now, as the curfew went on, children and people stopped missing. So people began to live out their normal lives again, not in fear that they might lose their loved ones. They figured it must have been people who had, driven down the highway and stopped in town and were a little scary people. So it was one late night, and it had been a very long day. Jack had been sewing and sewing, grinding up the scrap meat, really trying to get these scarecrows ready for Halloween. He had the bright idea to put jack-o'-lanterns on the heads of the scarecrows in the spirit of Halloween. But he always hated being in that barn too long. The barn had a cellar, and he thought that maybe whatever the old man did, or maybe because it was old, it smelled very moldy and wretched. He thought it was an absolute horrid smell. So he hurried along and tried to finish. He knew it was growing darker, so he called his parents on his way out. He said, "Hey Mom, just letting you know, I am running a little late because I had to finish up the extra scarecrows for Halloween. I will be on my way home soon." But soon never came. He continued to finish his work, and then as he got up and walked out the barn, everything went black. The parents had been worried, so they called up the farmer, asking him, "Hey, have you seen our son?" They had said no, he had left after he called. So he created a search party in hopes to find his golden boy, the boy who was making all his scarecrows. So the night of Halloween, he came to his cellar. He opened the door and Jack awoken. Jack had been bound by his feet and bound by his hands, and he had a rope around his neck. The farmer said, "Jack, you're a very special boy. You're gonna help save this town just like the rest of them." A bit dazed and confused, he struggled and strangled, punching the old man, and he took an unfortunate stumble off the ledge of the cellar. Falling, he squeezed his eyes closed as he couldn't tell when he would hit the floor, but he never did. The blackness engulfed him, and he could no longer see. He could no longer tell how much time had passed, as that farmer had used him for scrap meat. He turned him into a scarecrow, and for some reason, he could never really figure out why the scarecrows wouldn't eat him. A few years later, on Halloween, the kids had set him afire, burning Jack alive. In flames he awakened. All he could see was the light. He fell from the post, and he reached for anything in sight. And he felt that he had no head. When he had fallen, Jack did not realize that he had lost his head. So now he towers the world, torturing all the farmers. He will burn all their crops as he gained the power of fire. But he saved the best for last. The farmer knew that his time was coming, so he prepared for battle. Jack came on that Halloween, and he set fire to all his crops. He captured the man and strangled him by the hand. He looked him in the eyes as he had no eyes, and he said, "God will never forgive you, and may you go to hell," as he engulfed him in flames. Now every year the farmers are worried, so they always light their jack-o'-lanterns, as jack-o'-lanterns are their only means for safety from Headless Jack, the farmer killer. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was super fun coming up with this scary story for Headless Jack, and I hope you guys have a spooky, scary Halloween. Please be safe out there and keep your distance from others. May you guys collect lots of candies, and I will see you guys later. Bye.